you've almost kind of, you know, revolutionized movement, Qigong and Taiji and all that kind of stuff, you know. In that sacred geometric form, if you will. Am I correct on that, or?
Transform.
Like Qigong, Tai Chi, or Neigong, or you know, Jianzhuang, like where you have to hold positions for a certain amount of time. It essentially kind of just move however you want to, like however the stick guides you, so to speak. Like you don't have to be like an expert, or you don't have to be watching a video. Along with the stick.
Yeah, and that's the thing. When you...
Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3. All right, so today we're here with Master Rob Moses. So Mr. Moses is Amon's Sifu. Am I correct?
I just consider us good friends. That guy's very high caliber.
Oh, really? Well, yeah, he's yeah.
It's an honor to hear that.
Yeah. Well, right. Yeah, he speaks very highly of you, and he always says, like, you know, there's 3 guys I learned from, you know, and then he always says, you know, you're one of them. So
it was beautiful to hear that. He certainly is a top shelf practitioner for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So guys, today we're having a little bit of technical problems, so this will just be a phone interview type of thing, so to speak. But you'll be able to, you know, definitely be able to, you know, hear what Master Moses is saying clearly, I think. So we're good to go. So first of all, could you talk to me a little bit about yourself and your background, and how you you know, got into spirituality and kung fu and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, sure, I'll really crack at it. Yeah, you know, I got involved with right out of high school. I got involved with kung fu. I happened by watching that television series, you know, during you know, from grade school all the way up through high school. And so once I got out of high school, you know, like most people that age, I was kind of an angry youth, I guess. And bought a punching bag, started knocking around the garage with my buddies, you know, doing boxing and doing different things. And decided to pursue it, and wound up at a kung fu school.
Oh,
where
okay.
I was going to get into kickboxing.
Right on.
As fate would have it, I wound up, you know, studying under Grandmaster Cam Ewan, who's a brilliant teacher.
Mm-hmm.
So very, very blessed about that. And worked hard, just wanted to jump around all day, you know, for several years. It's probably 8 to 10 hours, 12 hours a day, you know, for, I don't know, 7 or 8 years.
Wow.
Around the school doing that. And it evolved. There's something very magical about martial arts and martial physics. You know, you start out and you want to bump into things all day, you know, or jump around and kick and hit and so forth. And as you continue with it, you know, life turns the tides on you a bit. You know, you wind up teaching, and you want to teach kindness. You don't want to teach honoriness, and you start to get a little more responsible with the physicalities that you've embraced. You know, so for me, they started to, you know, it's hard to sum it up in a short conversation, but I started to want to be a better version of myself.
Mm-hmm.
As opposed to just, oh, this guy's a badass. That started to feel like, oh, well, that's kind of an embarrassment. You know, I mean, what do you need? You know, I'll help you. What do you know? Yeah. Wanted to be more approachable and so forth. And then by the grace of God, I wound up with a daughter. And when you get a daughter, that also, you know, all that rough and tough stuff you were going to do with your son, you know, hand him the ball and knock him over or teach him all this martial arts shenanigans, you just kind of like, wow, you know, it just softens your heart and the responsibility that you have in society and in the workplace and so forth, you know. You've got to put a roast on the tables, you know. You need to show up. So a lot of the martial art antics, I'll say, when you're out in the field, you know, as a carpenter, a chain link fence builder, a drywaller, you have done that sort of stuff. And, you know, that's like going to a pirate ship every day. And you can't just fix anything with any form of martial activity, really. So, you got to get home, feed the kid, do that sort of thing. And it starts to turn me into more of an alchemist, more of a fascinated with the curiosity of the shapes of things.
Right.
I'm probably skipping quite a few decades here, you know. This is back in the late 70s, early 80s.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So, like,
but
right, so around that time in the 70s and 80s and whatnot, I mean, you know, spirituality, like, you know, I mean, stuff like yoga and stuff like that was still kind of considered a bit occultish, right? And nowadays, you know, more people are more open-minded to spirituality and stuff like that. Yoga is like, I mean, there's yoga classes anywhere you go and stuff like that. And now, you know, I mean, like the Wim Hof method and stuff like that is completely mainstream. I mean, you know, we're living in a totally different, you know, time compared to back then. So how exactly? So like, so it sounds like you got a daughter, and like, you know, there was a pivotal point in your life where, you know, you were teaching. You became more spiritual, for a lack of a better word, right? I mean, you know, am I correct on that?
Yeah. Well, it's an ongoing process. You know, we have to continually recalibrate ourselves, you know, for whatever situation we're in. But, you know, my daughter now is 37, so this is quite a while back. But it did put a place of responsibility. You can't just like, well, I'm going to be the, you know, toughest guy on the ship, or this or that. You know, it's just, you're not competing. You've got to start creating, and you better create a different lifestyle. And Kung Fu is still pretty esoteric, actually. I don't see many people delve into it to the depth of, you know, you're just getting started after about 7 years. You're just kind of finding your own identity. It's a lifelong process, and it is in chapters. And it seems to get, you know, as you peel that onion of oneness and self-understanding and responsibility and, you know, the human expression.
Mm-hmm.
It's, for some folks, they stay on the surface. You know, they just keep punching things and bumping into one another.
Mm-hmm.
And the priority starts to shift. And I was so blessed in different chapters where I got to work with David Carradine, who had played the character that I was so fond of, the Kwai Chang Caine. And I've always felt Kwai Chang Caine was almost, this is a little much, but almost a Christ-like character, in the sense that, you know, he did kindness was his greatest strength. And unless he was cornered, you know, you see some of that with old Chuck Norris, John Wayne, Billy Jack. You know, all of those guys were, from my point of view, pretty righteous. And I'm not saying I'm righteous, but that the intention was to, how do you make the world a better place?
Right. Yeah, that's beautiful. Okay. So, I mean, obviously, you know, I've been really stoked to hear more about the what do you call it, the Phisiostix, right? Now, correct me if I'm wrong. You are the inventor of the Phisiostix, right? That's mainly, honestly, I mean, I think most of our listeners are like, you know, wanting to hear more about that. I mean, obviously, like I said, you're a phenomenal kung fu master, martial artist, and stuff like that, and, you know, obviously, you know, I mean, you know, you're really good at that, and you're known for, you know, being a phenomenal teacher and whatnot. But like I said, most of my audience is, you know, into energy and stuff like that, and, you know, that the Phisiostix, it was so fascinating when I saw the intro video on YouTube yesterday. As I was looking, I was thinking to myself, man, like this is amazing because, correct me if I'm wrong, the sticks essentially forces you to move in that sacred geometric form, if you will. Am I correct on that, or?
Yeah, it doesn't force you to, but it's sort of an alignment to the golden ratio, and which is harmony. You know, energy. Source energy, you know, that's where you see it. The only time we witness energy is when we see it in water, you know, even when you don't see it. But in plant life and seashells and whatnot, is that you'll see what's called the Fibonacci sequence.
Right.
And our bones are aligned with that. And I stumbled into this by training in high winds and high velocities and out by the beach and kind of sacred areas. It bubbled up, if you will. And I was able to manifest this current potential. And this guideline turns it into, since we're talking Kung Fu, almost like a roller coaster track for positive energy. It's fascinating. Now the more I delve into it, I'm still learning more and more and more about what it is that I've actually discovered.
Right.
And there's the, you know, Bruce Lee would say you will be like water, and I didn't understand what he was talking about.
But
you look at a gentleman like Victor Schauberger, and this is the guy from Austria, mid-19th century, I believe, and he had developed all of the like water flumes, you know, the logging flumes in Austria, and looks at water like regenerative, a cyclic regenerative. So this Phisiostix actually kind of melt in your hands as you use them as a guidance system. And the risk of sounding silly, it's almost like you have a trout that's swimming about in your infrastructure, and it recreates the energy that you have. It becomes playful and more rejuvenated.
Right.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. So I have a question. So the Phisiostix, compared to doing Tai Chi, Qigong, or Neigong, or, you know, Jianzhuang, or any of those systems, like, how is it different? Do you think it's more effective if you use it along with those systems, or what is your opinion on that?
Those systems are all of extreme value. And I have a tendency to get a little short attention span, and trying to remember each and every stop and frame thing, that like doing it the same way over and over again is a sign of you know, being crazy. And so what I do with the Phisiostix is I'm able to embrace nature's intelligence. I'll use centrifugal force, free will, acknowledge gravity, and initiate flow. And then I can just be within the pool of God. It becomes love. Where when I try to, or the times when I visit the traditions, they're all wonderful and powerful, that I'll get a little bit, like it's not me, it's not my poem, or this isn't my music, you know, I'm kind of like, am I trying to be Chinese, am I trying to do this, am I trying, you know, with the Phisiostix, it's for me, it's just, you know, love of music. Activated. I use this tracking system a lot like a logging flume, and your bones will flow and follow it. When that happens, I feel I can resonate at a higher frequency with the water inside of my being.
Wow.
And that's like a Dr. Emoto thing.
Right.
It's more of a world blessing, where, you know, I forget things, you know. Some of the traditions that I did as when I was in my youth, and I worked very, very hard at all that stuff. But now I've kind of broken out, and that's what the Phisiostix is shaped as a little section of a golden, it's like a phi wave. And I use string theory by following this track as I melt into it, and it's, some days it's silly. Some days I'll pick it up and go, I've got to be crazy, you know. But when it hits, it's like, oh, my heaven, I'm alive. And it goes black. And that for me is, I feel like I'm fractaling as opposed to fracturing.
Wow.
Where I would short circuit if I'm bumping into stuff.
Wow. Okay. Okay. So, Master Moses. So I have a question. So, has like when exactly did you invent this? And also, like, is there any like incredible stories that you've heard, like people improving their health by using the Phisiostix, or any remarkable stories that you can possibly share, testimonials, things of that nature?
Yeah, there's a few layers to that question. A lot of it, when it first showed up, very bizarrely, I would take a bag of weapons, a big duffel sack, with my miscellaneous tools of the trade, 3-sectional staff, double swords, and things like that, down to the beach, right, to get away from people, like way away from folks. And even the folks that were bird watchers or walking their dog or surfing, they'd look at me like I was nuts. And you could just, there's like, there's a crazy man over there. Let's go. And to make a long story short, after some big rains at this river mouth, mid-state California, in the Ventura area, there was all these miscellaneous roots and branches and driftwood pile all over the beach. And they started talking to me. And I found, wow, that certain shapes would be inquisitive, where others felt hostile. And I didn't want to club anything or anybody. I could feel a brighter version of myself when I would just be curious which way these branches would lead me on an adventure. And then eventually doing that into high winds and start to recognize certain movements, certain shapes would be more playful than others. And I just, out of curiosity, I just couldn't stop doing that. So that was for several years I did that. But I've seen some folks transform instantaneously. One of my favorite stories was a lady I'd never met got a hold of me, and I didn't want one of these Phisiostix. Okay. So I send it to her, and she calls me, thanking me, and she was very, very emotional about it. Then she sent me this letter. And this letter, I find out, I didn't even talk about this. It was such a beautiful story. It turns out she was crippled. And when she was young, she had been a cheerleader. And now she was morbid obese in a wheelchair.
Uh-huh. In a wheelchair? Really? That's fascinating.
Wow. Yeah, fascinating. And she received the stick, and she sent me this letter that was such beautiful. It's like music. Like she said she'd forgotten. She was out in the yard, and dragonflies were in the garden, and she just had forgotten. And she looks over. Meditation is the place where you lose yourself, where you find yourself. It's timeless. There's no beginning or end. And that's what I love about Phisiostix. You just catch the wave and you go. And she was just in it, in whirlpools of grandeur. And she sees her reflection after about an hour of this in her sliding glass door. And she had forgotten. She forgot. She couldn't even walk. She was just flying in the moment. And it was, it's quite a beautiful story. So that for her was transformational. It was the first time in her adult life that she had been able to be that young, free child again.
Wow.
And a good friend of mine who's this is another powerful story. It's kind of emotional. One of my good friends, I had given him a twisted version of a stick. I'll bake them on an arc of phi, or else I can wrap them around cylinders. I have been at this a long time. I never stopped being a mad scientist. And I had given one to a dear friend of mine who had been a sniper in Vietnam. And we used to work together. The Terminal Island, in Long Beach, building chain-link fences. It was hard, dirty work. And we became really good friends. But he's about 10 years older than me. But he called me up one day and says, "Hey, You know, hey Buzzy. He calls me Buzzy as a nickname, you know. I said, yeah. And he was like, I gotta thank you. He said, you know, he had chosen to end his life. So he said he's got a bottle of Oxycontin, big old bottle of wine, home alone, sitting in his easy chair. And he has everything sitting next to him. And then he said he picked up that stick off of the mantle, spoke to him. He said somewhere along the line, he'd already drinking the wine, getting ready to go do the deed with the Oxycontin. And he went into like a spell. He just fell into the thing where he was catching waves. And he said he didn't know how long he'd been there. And he wakes up, basically, while he'd been moving. And he thought it was 5 minutes, but it was like 3 hours. Where he said he caught this infinite wave, and it was like surfing the universe. And he got up, completely covered with sweat, went over, dumped the pills in the toilet, and flushed them, and then gave me a call.
Wow, fascinating. So
yeah.
So there's a lot of listeners probably that don't understand exactly what this thing is. It's a stick, basically. It's just a stick, basically. It's a green stick. And you move it around a certain way, and then am I correct on that, or?
It's so funny. You know, it's the simplest thing. I started out with different branches, and the first batches I made were out of rattan. It was a big deal. And then I started, well, how can I make one now, you know, instead of all the process that goes into the rattan? And so I had a blowtorch, right? And I'd already built a jig, and I was in the wrought iron business for years. So I built a Fibonacci spiral, and I heated up water pipe from the hardware store. And danged if it wasn't the perfect size and the perfect weight. And it worked. And so from then on, it's like, well, I made them out of hollow pine, you know, and now I put magnets in the ends, and that's probably more of a gimmick than anything else. Is you can't see what's going on in your electromagnetic field, but
Right.
I like the feeling of tinkering with it.
Right.
Yeah. And so this is a shape of a wave in action. It looks like a perfect wave. It looks like bonsai pipeline, but it's a 2-foot pipe. And basically, it's like water pipe. And it's as close to a living shape as I've been able to manifest. And it's small enough to where it works as a gear. So it'll actually kind of disappear once you initiate your own energy waves and you start playing with your water weight distribution and using your centrifugal force. And you got to be a little silly with it. You got to take it on a trip. You know, you got to create a river or a streamline in order to streamline your gestures, but they will follow this defined code process, Fibonacci sequence. So DNA and information travels as well as waves do. So
right.
It's like a wave creator.
Right.
Yeah.
So back to the story of the lady in the wheelchair. So she just used her hand, like hands while she was in the wheelchair, and then
Yeah. She was at para as opposed to quadra.
wow. Okay.
But she was just had forgotten it. It started swimming. I had a Native American gentleman, the Chief Daniel Ramos, and he had introduced me once at a Dr. Emoto event where I was asked to move and swirl and blend within the mush pot with the music and the dance and things going on. And after, and he says, he pulls one out of a deer skin, one of the miniature ones I used to make, and he just holds it up in front of the rest of the tribe and all the good folks there, and he goes, it swims. And I try to explain it. I go on and on and on. I get so babbly, and he was right. It swims, and you just follow it around. So it's again, it's one of those things where if it's really just a shape of neutrality that can expand and contract and spin and
right.
and maneuver. It's a navigational device.
Right. So unlike Qigong, Tai Chi, or Neigong, or Jan Zhuang, like where you have to hold positions for a certain amount of time. It essentially you kind of just move however you want to, like however the stick guides you, so to speak. Like you don't have to be like an expert, or you don't have to be watching a video to model after the master, if you will, their movements and stuff like that. You just kind of move however you want to, along with the stick.
Yeah, and that's the thing. When Einstein always said imagination is greater than knowledge, but that was Einstein. So you want to assume that, well, an educated imagination is better yet. So you can use whatever movement modality that you're used to, whether you be a dancer or a whatever sport you might like. But once you catch this, now all your bones start to work in harmony. And the fact that you don't have to remember something is that it's kind of like when it's like reset. Or when the Kung Fu teacher's not looking, what was the guys doing as soon as the master looks away? It's almost sheepish to tell the truth in such a grand way like this, but it really is. Well, which way's the wind blowing? Are you going to adjust your Taiji to it? If you're out I grew up by the beach, so if you're out in the water, I can play with the tides and the waves as they're coming in and coming out, and chase them and feel even more juvenile.
Wow. Okay. To be kind of one with nature, if you will, yeah, and kind of move along with it.
It's all eventually going to come down to innate intelligence and your own intuition and what you're going to do. But you got to create that. Centrifugal force and free will rarely shows up in most traditions, and when it does, it's such a brief gesture.
Wow.
That elliptical doesn't allow you to adventure with it.
Wow.
And this is the key to opening that door.
Wow.
To give
Fascinating.
Self-awakening, and I would say awake behind the boat.
Right.
Like, wow, how does the water really respond?
Right.
It's, yeah.
So just to clarify one thing, like, this, what is this stick made out of again?
It's just a plastic stick.
So it's just a plastic stick that's shaped a certain way, and then, wow, that is fascinating.
So it really is. The funny thing is, it's water pipe, so it's a conduit. Well, what is your energy? What does electricity go through? It goes through a conduit, and it spins as it travels. What does water do? It actually heals itself as it spins through a drain.
Wow.
So what Bruce is talking about, I hate to go back to him necessarily, but that doesn't give you the draining system where your weight distribution can and accelerate and spin from one side to the other, or even swirl within your being. But it's so simple, it's ridiculous that it's actually just a piece of like water pipe or conduit. But that's how information travels in an energetic stream. So you get a life stream information that recalibrates your physical being, and you awaken to nature's path of least resistance. Then you expand and contract, and now you're in it,
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
This is, Master Rob. This is one of the most fascinating, device, if you will, that I've ever heard of, and it's just like you said, made out of plastic, and wow, it's so fascinating. It's where can people go to buy this stuff? Do you have a website or?
My website is Golden Spiral Wellness.
GoldenSpiralWellness.com.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and I've got PayPal, so people, this is something that I think is going to be bigger than the hula hoop. In the hula hoop, they're amazing to see what folks are doing with those right now. But you're kind of stuck there. You're in infinity, but they're not dealing with the finite. Excuse me, with a Phisiostix, you can do ellipticals, and you can go super fast. You can almost become an elastic being. But, if you're not willing to do it, I've handed this to some really profound world masters, and they go, huh? What the hell's this? right? You can't crack a walnut with it. What are you doing? You know? And then I've handed it to 14-year-old kids and watched them take off, woo, and you know, and just go and go and go and you go. So it almost disappears. It's merely a passageway of neutral positive energy.
Wow, fascinating. Okay, okay. Well, Master Rob, this was an amazing interview. There's probably a lot more questions that I do want to ask you. I think my audience will really appreciate it if you can, like, demonstrate it. So maybe in the future, if we could figure out a way to get you on camera, that'll be amazing. But for now, I will probably just link it to your YouTube video so that my audience kind of has an idea on what we're talking about and stuff like that, because it might be kind of hard to visualize what we're talking about. But that one video you have though on YouTube that 1 minute short clip that explains the benefits of Phisiostix, man, that video is amazing. When I saw it, like 30 seconds in, I was like already hooked. Like, oh my gosh, I got to pay attention now. So yeah, so.
I mean, there's a lot of, if you go to the website, it links to a lot of different things of me jumping around with my shenanigans. But one thing that I never saw coming, and it's almost like problematic. When you're really doing it right, it looks like a rubber hose. It will appear as like, wow, what do you mean that's a solid? It just looks like a limp rubber hose.
Wow.
It malsenses fluidity. And
right.
Traveling about, it's I don't know. It's for me. It's just the ongoing self-experiment that this feels the most honest when I come back to it.
Okay,
Instead of trying to go through a martial form or punching the bag or doing that, you got to do all that stuff.
So I mean, I was planning to do this interview for about 30 minutes. So I'm planning on wrapping it up soon. But I do have one question real quick. Like, do you practice with us every single day with a Phisiostix?
You know what? It's one of those funny things. As soon as it lights up, where now you can move, I can just walk down. I can just sit still and activate my body like it's moving with water. This is my go-to thing, and I have a variety of different ones. Being the inventor, I never sit still. I'm forever. Picking up a pine cone, believe it or not, and just fascinated with it and let it start swimming around. That also is a version of tapping into the gold ratio and the phi code. So there's so many different ways of just start looking at nature while you're taking a walk. You'll find a branch. You don't need a big plastic stick. You might find a branch that's off-centered and curved. That's shaped like a palm frond. Those were my inspirations. I just extracted enough to be the perfect human gear. But, I started out with driftwood. Anybody and everybody just on a stroll can pick up a leaf or a feather or something like that and search themselves, their own curiosity, and find a way to, like, wow. And where misfits fit in, you just become that seaweed, a drift, or that current. Your current potential arrives at its highest harmonic potential when you're using nature. So that's what this is. It's just a way to tap in.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. I would encourage everybody to be a little kid. Put your hand out the window of the car when it's going real fast. Every kid in the world has done that. And this is a little closer to that instead of, okay, let's go do this Chinese thing. I won't never diss that stuff. But universally, we're all alive. And there's a moment when you really find that play can make the other work even more valuable or more rewarding.
Wow.
So it's just one more thing to incorporate.
Awesome.
I don't do it all day, every day, or a certain hour. I've kind of integrated it into my being.
Right. I mean, this is so fascinating because I feel like you've almost kind of, revolutionized movement, qigong and tai chi and all that kind of stuff. Do you feel that way at all, or?
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? It's heartbreaking. You know, you get, which is a funny thing. There's always balance. You know, you get bad mouth. Well, that's not tough. You can't kill someone with that. You know, martial artists are a tough crowd. You know, and then there's so many things. You know, I thought this would have been, you know, like I say, bigger than the hula hoop by now, because you can address, you know, infinite and finite.
Right.
And it's just like, it don't look like nothing when you're doing it.
Right.
I got a group of folks now, kind of a mastermind group that are going to help me with all the, you know, I'm the inventor, and I'm not the computer guy. I'm not the salesperson.
Right.
So it just takes a village to raise a child.
Right.
There'll be a time when everybody needs one of these.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I definitely. I mean, I know Amin has it because I remember he had a picture on his Facebook. But yeah, definitely. I'll have I'll ask Amin more about it and stuff like that. And like I said, let's definitely make let's definitely next time, you know, in the future, do like an actual video call with you somehow, and maybe you can, like, you know, demonstrate this for us. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. Yeah, but you know, just for the record, anyone goes to Golden Spiral Wellness, or, you know, I've got stuff on YouTube too. You know. Right.
Yeah.
Short clips, so they can find me.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I got a movie coming out this week, you know, and a film festival.
Oh, you do? Okay, you know? What is that called?
It's called Grandmaster Moses. Which was a little bit, I was a little sheepish to that. The original name was Transformational Movement.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So, you know, it's like, wow, it's just something in the interviews from friends of friends say, hey, Bob, you're a fully developed character. We want to talk to you. And next thing you know, they made an independent film out of our capers, you know.
That's amazing. Okay, yeah, we'll definitely put that in the description as well, and so people can check that out. So, what's the title again?
May I put one more thing here before we go?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I created also something that's available